As a bankruptcy firm, Mitchell, Cunningham, and Bowling realizes many people are worried about their finances. We're here to guide you through the next steps to restart your life with easy video appointments. New clients don't have to leave home to get information about becoming debt-free. Also, convenient in-office appointments are available at the low cost of $340 upfront for a Chapter 13. You can be on your way to being debt-free. Contact Mitchell, Cunningham, and Bowling today or visit our website at mcdebtfree.com. We are here to help you.
Mississippi's trusted weather experts. This is Mississippi Live Weather This Morning.
Good morning, Chief Meteorologist Matt Lawpon here. Current time is about 5 a.m. and we are tracking some showers and thunderstorms out there. There's not going to be as long as maybe our typical morning shows tend to run in this scenario here. We're going to have just some quick updates. We'll have our more established kind of morning show sort of format coming up here in a little bit. But good morning to everyone out there. Hopefully you all are making it okay. Not a lot of damage to report out of these storms so far. I can't give one damage report. And I don't have a picture of it, but it's been my wife came home from work last night. We've got a couple trees along the driveway that have died, pretty large old oak trees. One of them had a limb that fell in the what we call prefrontal winds earlier last night. So one of our cars is parked at the end of our fairly long driveway because she couldn't move it. So an example of the sporadic wind damage I think that is a possibility out of what we see out there this morning. Let's get right here to Mama Justice Doppler radar showing our line of thunderstorms kind of extending from northwest to southeast sort of through the area. Again, not a lot of lightning strikes and things like that really showing up at this time. This, as you can see on our lightning counter there, we show about 36 lightning strikes over the course of the last 15-20 minutes there, and some heavier thunderstorms stretching from back there near Montgomery County kind of through a few other locations. Go ahead and put this into motion here for you. And again, I think the main headline I want to make sure we have, and we'll address some other things related to this in a minute, but main headline is that these storms should primarily be below severe limits. That could honestly be an argument for all day long, but certainly an argument for what we have out there at this point here. And appreciate y'all for watching us, for supporting us here on Mississippi Live Weather. So in the Room to Room Weather Center on Mama Justice Doppler radar, again, tracking these storms. Let's see how fast they are moving here. Again, that one that we're looking at near Vaden over the last hour has moved about 40 miles. Make sure that's good there. Yeah, about 40, 42 miles per hour or so. So this is our heaviest thunderstorm here. So as you track this east, but again, 42 miles per hour or so. It gives you some times as this kind of works its way eventually there toward around Starkville and French Camp. Now give me a moment, I'll make that extend a little farther. But as you can see, French Camp, we're looking at about 553 for you. We need to add in a few other locations, so give me a moment to do that here. As I extend that one out about, let's say 70 miles. It's a long distance, and then we'll kind of refine things a little more. But as you can see there, in the shorter term, we're looking at, or longer term, we're looking at Ware at about 549. This is our heaviest storm there toward Ackerman, 555, so about an hour there. Maybe a little bit sooner than that. Starkville about 620, Artesia about 636. We filled it in there. Again, this is our heaviest storm at this point there, getting closer to, again, Biwa at 544, but in the near term, we're Beatty at 505, West at 511 there, Carmack 517, Mount Herman at 514. But yeah, eventually Ackerman, about an hour or so before it makes it toward you. One of the locations where we, we'll have kind of a better idea of what this is going to look like is in Ackerman, because we do have a camera there in Ackerman. We're able to look out. And ahead of this, one of the things we have to do is an assessment on whether the atmosphere is capable of producing something significant. Ackerman 70, the temperature, feels like temperature 61, but it's that dew point. Again, this reporting station I'm going to have to check on. That dew point is way higher than I would expect in this scenario. So you can see the clouds kind of moving around there. Appreciate y'all for watching us. Danny in Houston, Angela there in Winston County, Maben, Adam, Sandra there as well. Someone mentioned super scary in Fulton. There is quite a bit of lightning with this, but the big takeaway, again, these storms are all below severe limits. Let's back out to the west here to get closer to Winona, where these storms are a little bit closer at this point. And that shows, again, the dew point up. Okay, so as you can see, at least we're close-ish on where it's at on that Ackerman site there. Coming in 65 in the Winona area. It is 67 for that feels like temperature there. And hold on, if you'll give me a minute here, I got to make sure that Mr. Gabe Mainers, yeah, he is hitting the snooze for a little bit. He's been watching things overnight while I was taking a nap. You can see in the corner here, there is that line of thunderstorms kind of moving through, heaviest through Winona, and that guy wire kind of moving back and forth a little bit. Kind of an example of what this looks like there. Going down the line, kind of ahead of this still in the Kosciuszko area. You can see still fairly tranquil, and that dew point at 66, so that's at least mid-60s dew point. So there is some instability out there to help make a few of these thunderstorms get a little bit stronger. Okay, back here to Mama Justice Doppler radar, and as we come back on over there, you could see a few little lightning flashes there in the extended area. Let's do some assessment on this. Probably first way to do that is going to be to look at the different threats, what we call our threat tracker here, and you can tell it keeps this primarily just rainfall. No areas of wind shear or rotation in this line. And while it does have a few little areas of hail showing up, let's kind of address that. We'll look at what we call our hail swath. I don't see anything on there. No. I don't see any hail threat of significance on that. So I think we're good to go as far as hail is concerned, at least for this point in time. Hopefully something that it continues forward on this. So yeah, a few little bowing segments. I mean, I can see one right there near Winona. It's a little bit of wind with that, and another one up here toward Derma. Here's the thing. Farther north, there's less fuel to work off of, which is one of the many things that we are looking at on the way we kind of balance things off. So we'll track this whole line kind of toward the east, give you some generalized time period on where things will be heaviest and when they will be at those locations. So let's click now. And I'm just going to kind of track again. There will be rumbles before this. Hold on. Let's clear that off. Let's get that, do a slightly better track on that. There will be rumbles before this, but once this hits, this is when any of the gustier winds will hit. So the good news is here, I'm not that far removed from having a better idea here at the Mobile Weather Center. So again, this is kind of an overall speed. I'll go about 46 miles per hour. That's another sign that this is largely below severe limits, is because that's a fast mover for what we're thinking this time of day. A sign that these storms are kind of driven by winds aloft, more so than, you know, closer to the surface. I mean, not that all storms aren't, but Calhoun City 512 there, Boonville 513, Derma 514, Guntown 516. You know, obviously that on the kind of northern end there. Vardaman, we're 522. Tupelo, depending on what part of town there, about 522 to 523 for crosstown to downtown. And then Verona 525, Plantersville about 528, Eupora 529. Eventually Shannon 530, Mantachie 537, Houston 537, and Tishmingo County, generally Belmont, Tishmingo somewhere around 540 to 550 or so. I'm going to take this and advance this a little bit farther out to get this farther east, kind of give you again some other spots on that. We'll take that length and we'll make it 70 miles as well, and so that will then get us a little farther east, as you can see there, adding in locations such again as Okolona at 553, Ackerman about 6 o'clock, Tremont somewhere around 6 o'clock as well. Let's go a little farther. Let's go. And I'm going to also swing this to where our first city is Golden. And that'll kind of shift our list up there. Red Bay for you if you're looking ahead and wondering there about 603, but I know we had someone in Itawamba County mention that felt rough there. Just rumbles ahead of this. No severe weather on what we have here at this point. Starkville 610, West Point about 618, Smithville about 619, Florence 621, and Russellville, Littleville there by about 630 or so. Artesia 637, Hackleburg 637, and Caledonia at 642. I am going to check out our camera in Caledonia briefly here because I want to see farther ahead on this. We'll talk a little forecast on this here in just a moment. So looking ahead on this Caledonia, I want to check out again the conditions there. 69, dew point is 65. That's a pretty reasonable amount of moisture. Again, I'd expect it to be a little higher if we're talking about a higher end severe weather. We're going to do again a little bit of the forecasting as we go along this morning here. So appreciate the folks there at Caledonia, and again the North Mississippi Storm Chasers for sponsoring these cameras. And again, as I go back there to Ackerman one more time, this pointed kind of toward the west southwest James Bishop with the North Mississippi Storm Chasers pointing that out to me a moment ago there, kind of looking into the storms. We'll see a little more lightning on this. This is not non-stop lightning, thankfully. It is breezy ahead of this line. And yeah, if you see some low-hanging stuffs in this, you will. Lines like this tend to have the low-hanging stuff, but there's a difference between a scary-looking cloud and an actual scary situation. And this might be one where it looks rough from time to time, as opposed to being a true scary situation. In checking our discussion back and forth with the National Weather Service there, no specific issues of concern at this instant out of these storms for a little while in our area, but certainly going to watch things fairly closely with flood watches in effect for some locations across the region. So as we bring it back in here to Mama Justice Doppler radar, minimize that camera here for a moment. Let's go ahead again, look real close at some of these storms. We're going to check out the wind mode, what we call the velocity mode on this, just kind of get a general look at that. And you can see that there are some areas, some little bends in the line there. So it's, as we talked about on air, it's a non-zero rotation, but none of this rotation, as we talked about last night, is tornado producing rotation. And honestly, none of the winds are at severe levels. They're gusty, but luckily not there. That said, kind of like my situation we talked about, a few tree limbs, things like that will get knocked down from time to time, kind of related to this. So that's kind of the thinking there. Okay, so let's go ahead and roll through a few things again here this morning. This is not going to be a non-stop update. We're going to have kind of update and go back and kind of come back and forth here on this. But our hour-by-hour forecast through the morning, about 60% of that rain coverage early, watching it diminish by 9 a.m. through midday, and then more storm chances kind of peaking again in the late evening and tonight. Kind of two different waves coming in. So we talked about that jet stream, a couple different waves associated with that kind of pushing through our region. That's the reason why, as we kind of analyze the first 12 here. Wind chill, non-factor obviously, because we are warm out there and expected to, obviously, you could argue more toward a heat index as opposed to a wind chill temperature in this scenario here. Let's pick things up looking at actual temperature there, again in the mid 60s at this time. And on kind of the wider shot here, as we analyze other things on Mama Justice Doppler radar, kind of give you an overview of what we're looking at. There are a few other waves kind of back to the north and west. This next one here, the one that brought some of that precipitation out there into Arizona last night. And again, condolences to our Ole Miss fans out there. At the same time, congratulations on what was an amazing season. Ole Miss losing the Fiesta Bowl last night and a heartbreaker, 4-point loss, but an amazing season, and one I'm sure that Ole Miss fans, hopefully in a good way, will remember for a generation, talking about the year. And who knows, maybe next year will be just as good. Hopefully that's the case for them. But you know, heartbreak, I'm sure, in Ole Miss Nation, Rebel Nation, tonight associated with that, or this morning. So let's go ahead and put on here a satellite. I'm going to look at what we call the water vapor. It allows us to kind of see more disturbances, things like that. And you can kind of see kind of a better analysis on this. You can also see this kind of fetch of subtropical moisture we have overhead. And then obviously the storms have kind of popped up around the state, which has been what we anticipated happening in this scenario here. Latest update from the Storm Prediction Center in Norman, Oklahoma. Here is the risk area for today. And you can kind of see with the front analyzed on there why this is the risk area that we are tracking. And that's because obviously this front is going to move in. It's going to stall out. North of that, the severe weather threat will end earlier. South of it, that threat will persist through the day and into later on this evening. The tornado threat related to this, as you can see, pretty similar in the yellow area to where the other threat is. This has, to a certain extent, been maintained versus where it was last night. Again, because this would represent what meteorologists like to refer to as, see if it's worth my time to try to write it on here, the warm Nope. There was enough of a delay there. That's supposed to be an M. Put another poke on it. Anyway, the warm sector. And so the warm sector where there is enough instability to produce something like a tornado, it's not an impossibility out of this. I would say damaging winds, probably a little bit more likely. Hail, I would say, is largely unlikely. Lightning, like what you have out there, is more likely. And the most significant time with that's later on today. But if I show you strong tornado risk, there is not one in this scenario. So let's keep that in mind going forward. A wide shot looking here at Futurecast again shows the thunderstorms we have out there now, locations as anticipated. We're going to continue to have those next few hours here. I think it may be a little bit slow on Futurecast and where it's placing it, but a lot of times in the moment they tend to run just a little bit slow on that. As this kind of progresses again from the west to the east, you'll notice how it changes here. This red line is our front, our warm front, and warm and moist air kind of lifting in. We have more individual thunderstorms down toward Canton, Jackson, Kosciuszko showing up at that point in time. And I think a takeaway is that this is kind of a northern extent on how far it's most likely to see severe weather. If you're on the north side of this front, it's less likely, but this front is really going to kind of wobble around. So this is a very relative position. So we expect this positioning to change through the day. So if you're going, we're out of it in North Mississippi, hopefully. But the thinking is that it could wobble, and we might still have some issues for locations, obviously, near this front and north of this front. Certainly, despite the fact that it tries to push northward, this shows on this projection here just kind of still slipping southward with the primary severe weather risk down in central and south Mississippi. But here is what has continued to change over the last 12 to 18 hours. Watch back into southern Arkansas there and Louisiana. Some thunderstorms. Where do those in particular go? Because those are the ones they'll try to lift in and produce potentially some active and severe weather later on tonight. Our event is kind of split then. We have what's happening this morning, again, largely below severe limits, and then we see kind of a break around midday. As you can see there, the 30% on the rain coverage by 7, and then picking back up as we go into this evening as that secondary wave moves in, the subtropical jet stream, the reason for that as these storms kind of move into the area. Coming up here in 60 seconds, we will look at Futurecast, kind of some of the positioning there on where some of those threats are. We will revisit Mississippi Live Weather Radar. We will try to answer some of your comments. I do see Melissa mentioning power out in the Golden and Belmont areas. We will check on power outages as well as Mississippi Live Weather continues here from the Room to Room Weather Center in 60 seconds. Thank you so much for supporting us, for joining us, for downloading the app. We'll see you in 60.
Out with the old and in with the new. It's time to save big at Room to Room's New Year's sale. Store-wide markdowns 50 to 70% off. No tax. 48-month special financing. It's a new year at Room to Room Furniture in Tupelo. There's no place like home.
At First Choice Bank, we know you can't always make it before the bank closes. With our integrated teller, you can talk to a live person as late as 7 p.m. on weekdays and noon on Saturdays. It's not just an ATM, it's an ITM. First Choice Bank, your choice for banking.
Right now, from the Room to Room Weather Center, here's Mississippi's Chief Meteorologist, Matt Lobhon.
We're looking outside in Mabin this morning. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lopon. Thank you so much for supporting us on Mississippi Live Weather. Appreciate y'all in Okolona and other locations for watching us. Power still out in Pontotoc too, according to Asia. Your chat back and forth, not something I'm going to leave up necessarily all the time because I did not have time to make it prettier. As we talked about yesterday, there will be an opportunity for you to interact with us here on Mississippi Live Weather. You can see some of your comments there as folks are letting us know about what's going on this morning, and we appreciate all of your support for doing so at this time. Mabin, as I step to this side here for a second, you can kind of see one of the stronger storms approaching there, northern Choctaw and kind of western Webster County there. So we're looking west of Eupor at this point. That's kind of the storm that we're looking into. We'll be looking into there. Actually, if you give me a moment here, I think I need to actually flip that camera around. So give me just a second to kind of pull up the camera interface for that there. And Mabin, let's make sure we're looking the right direction on this. The beauty of these cameras is, yeah, no, we need to go this way. Fly to. Give me just a moment to zoom that around and get you a shot the right direction. So as this kind of switches around, there's an opportunity to say thank you to the North Mississippi Storm Chasers. That group has done an excellent job of kind of putting together this camera network around this region, and y'all don't have any clue how unique this is. There's almost no storm chase groups around the country that are doing this, and they're doing it completely off of donations. So NMS, North Mississippi Storm Chasers and Spotters, NMSCAS.org, or if you just Google North Mississippi Storm Chasers, you can find their website. Donations certainly welcome. A 501c3. Your money is tax deductible, and it goes to help save people's lives. So we appreciate them. Looking out there, 68 the temperature in the Mabin area as we look back toward the center of that storm moving in their direction there. Let's go back here again, clear that off on Mississippi Live Weather Radar, our Mama Justice Doppler radar. That little kind of backward C shape, always kind of sign of some wind. So I'm going to be poking and prodding these a bit this morning. As we talked about last night, there's going to be some broad rotation on these storms. I have that. But again, these are what we would call elevated, meaning that we're not tapping in the most unstable air. And so in all likelihood, we're not getting the strongest wind gusts down to the surface associated with this there. But this is easily our strongest storm. So let's go ahead and track it here a little closer near Bell Fountain and Walthall, Catarata the area there, as well as we track that again eastward. Got to go just a little bit wider to get it up. About 45 miles per hour is the speed. Next town, larger town there in the way is Eupora. Let's get everybody else onto this that we can this morning as well. So as you can see there, the center community now, Spring Hill now, Embry at about 523. And you can see other folks there on that list. Again, moving toward Hohenlinden at 542, eventually Mathiston 544. But certainly some gusty winds, and eventually they're getting pretty close to the Mabin area. We're going to go down this list here. Let me think, 545. I'm going to make the Spring Valley our first one there. As you can see, we do again get that to Mabin, where our camera was looking at 547, as that eventually works toward Montpelier at 556 and Cairo at 559. Again, appreciate everyone for watching. While we're on this shot here, we're going to check out the different severe weather threats. We're going to look at the shear, the rotation on this. Everything is very low on our scales. You can see up here at the top, our scale, when you're down here close to the blacks or transparent, where it's not showing up at all, that's where the rotation is very, very limited, and that's the way I would describe things on this at this time. Rotation remains very limited at most. I'll do kind of a 30-minute loop here. We'll keep it in fairly close. Not a ton of lightning strikes as well, only about 8 over that period and time. Does come up a little bit last scan there that I think does relate back directly to this kind of let me clear that off. We'll leave the storm track on for a minute. But does kind of come back to the fact that I can see at least some broad rotation on, so that's where that shear is. But this is unlikely to be one that produces a tornado. Hail, I would say same threat. Appreciate the folks at True Shield Roofing for allowing us to have this hail threat graphic that allows us to really go in and search for hail on these storms, and none that I'm concerned with on this one there as well. So kind of check out some others here. Again, that is our strongest at this point. Alongside, I would say, this storm here south of Vaden, north of Kosciuszko there. Again, keeping it on our wind mode here, looking at this basically the straight line winds on this. Not a lot. Again, broad rotation. We're going to watch this one closely as well. But again, these are likely elevated and likely below severe limits. So last scan here as that comes in. Track that one forward through Ackerman and locations eastward. There's about 45 miles per hour as we talked about off the top. French Camp at a 538. Current time is right around 523 as that works its way eastward. Some gusty winds with this. Severe threats, though, below severe limits, largely the way I described this. No hail of significance out there on this storm as well as that continues to progress toward the east. We clear that off. Again, look north on our line here. Another one near Calhoun City, south of Vardaman, a little heavier, but again, below severe limits, the way I describe all of these storms at this time. So near Monte Vista and Anchor Community, again, working eastward. We show this one there, getting closer to Egypt. Houston, we're about 543 for you. Vardaman at 528 as that moves again toward the north and east. Some storms down in central Mississippi looking a little stronger. We will take a look at that here in just a minute. And farther north up here, closer to Tupelo, locations more in the heart of our coverage area. these storms, again, below severe limits as well. I do hear a decent amount of rainfall outside the studio here. 526, again, basically current time. We're in the Tupelo area with the heavier part of this there. Verona 531, Marietta 535 there. Fulton 552, Belmont 556, Golden 559, Red Bay 601. Talked about this a minute ago, looking at power outages. As you can see, some power outages are showing up at this time, not a ton of them around the region. It does look like, again, bringing into current time here, we're up on power outages there in Itawamba County to around 800. We show 100 back out there for locations close to Batesville, back around I-55. I don't show a whole lot of others at this point there. Sometimes I can get some more show up on percentages, yeah. Looking on this, you know, very limited number in Pontotoc County, a very limited number in Montgomery County, as well as back toward around Greenwood. So as you can see, limited numbers, I'll get out of the way, back around Greenwood. Very limited numbers of power outages, thankfully, to this point here. So with that in mind, again, our school day forecast, school bus forecast for today, pickup temperature 63, pretty close to what we're at now. We will have quite a few thunderstorms out there as we progress throughout the morning. Most should stay below severe limits. Drop-off temperature 71, and again, we're looking at about 20% on that rain coverage at this point here. Oh man, I left it up, didn't I? I apologize. See, this is why the chat is good, and I typically will have a squeeze back, what we call squeeze back for that. I'm really sorry. I blocked some of those city names. All that time. Oh well, we'll get that. We'll learn how the best way to do this. So I apologize for the fact that city chat was popping up with that. We'll get that cleaned up. I'll probably take a break from coverage so that we can do that here in a few minutes. 71 drop-off temperature by the time the school buses come back later today. We expect that, should you be sending your kids to school? Absolutely. Do you need to build in some extra time to get them there this morning? Probably not a bad idea to do that. So let's look again at Futurecast here next couple of hours. As you can see, this kind of initial wave moving east between now and 9 o'clock in the morning. Still Louisville, West Point, Columbus, thunderstorms ongoing there. And this is one of the concerns. See how a lot of those same spots still at noontime still have some rainfall? That's where there's at least a limited flooding rainfall potential out of what we're seeing out there this morning so far. And rain chances do continue into the afternoon. But as you can largely see, we are mostly below severe limits here across the northern part of the state as we go throughout the day and into this afternoon. Additional waves of storms will move in as we go into this evening. More on that here in a moment. So high temperatures for today expected to be around the 70-degree point, give or take. So it's not a huge increase from where temperatures are at this instant. 73 Greenwood and Kosciuszko, as well as Belzona. About 70 for Cleveland, 69 Clarksdale, and 69 degrees there in Tunica. Okay, so I'm going to widen things out a little bit on our next projection here as we check out, again, the forecast on Futurecast for tonight. And then we might get back in, do a little more nitty-gritty on this. So kind of the next wave of this back to the west. And the question is how much instability and fuel rides north of this front? I expect the majority of it to stay south. But as you can see here, again, as this kind of moves in, additional thunderstorms, an additional wave here by around midnight tonight to possibly after. And again, it has been the split that's occurred with this storm system that's kind of changed the positioning of everything. It's possible, again, back closer to the center of this, what we call the triple point on this, that there is more severe weather potential. Most of those storms dying as they move into North Mississippi and weakening a bit more. I'm going to come in. We're going to do this graphic again here in just a second, kind of pull off this front. But as you can see, things shifting eastward and much drier and cooler air coming in after this. Let's go a little closer in. We're going to pull off the fronts on this. We'll call it the surface analysis. And apparently we're going to pull off the windshield panel there. Let's kind of walk through this. So as you can see here, showing those thunderstorms back southwest, again working their way eastward, Monroe, Louisiana, back toward Greenville. Possibility, now this is midnight tonight into early pre-dawn tomorrow morning. These still show back there west of Jackson enough rotation that tornadoes not an impossibility later on tonight for some of those locations there. So we'll have to watch that very closely. Most of those storms weakening as we go closer to, say, 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. When you come back to analysis mode here, I want to check out on Mississippi Live Weather Radar some things on this, make sure we're on the right page. So let's go back and look at the Jackson radar site, kind of check what's going on south there. Things are a little stronger down here, closer to say Canton and Flora, locations down there. This storm looks pretty peppy, unfortunately. Let's check our discussion here with the National Weather Service. Watching cell west of Flora, it has a concerning shape. I would agree to that. Sufficient depth to produce at least intermittent lightning. Velocities are a bit too low to suggest imminent chance of tornado. But looking at everything, there's some rotation on that. So we will see. But let's look at this here on the wind. Definitely have a circulation, albeit still fairly broad on this one. This is near Flora. We're going to compare this to what we have up farther north here in a minute, but on Mama Justice Doppler radar, this is one that definitely kind of watched there. Looking at our severe threats, showing the hail potential more than anything else in this, and you can see at least some limited possible hail on this. I do again appreciate the folks at True Shield Roofing for sponsoring our hail tracker here on this as well. But this does have some rotation there near Flora. Let's get a storm track on this again, and let's double check the speed on this. So for Canton locations, again, this is on southern fringe of our coverage area here on Mississippi Live. That one looks more interesting for sure. Could still be elevated. We'll look at whether or not it is with kind of a combination product here in a minute. So give me just a moment here to make sure that I've got the right spot on where we're tracking this. We're going to do a 30-minute loop on this, make sure we've got the right thing, and then we're going to do kind of a long track. So that's about 17 miles, so 17 times 2, 27, 34, about 34 miles per hour on the speed of this one here, which is a little slower than we're tracking stuff north, so I might have to double check that speed up farther north here in a minute. So let's get kind of a longer track on that. It's about 36 miles per hour. And so you can see Flora at 556, and let's make sure this is on the most recent time there, so over top of Flora right now. So let's clear that and try that again. Okay, so from there, where again it has strengthened a bit more, we're going to get a long track on this. I'm going to go 40. I'd rather go too fast than too slow, 41 miles an hour. You can see there Canton. Let's add in let's add in more locations as we make this a much, much longer track. We'll kind of check some of your questions here as this remains kind of an open dialogue. Okay, eventually Philadelphia. If that were to hold together this particular storm, if it doesn't pick up speed, we'd be looking getting close to Noxapater there, about 7:23 Philadelphia, 7:13. So we still do have a little less than 2 hours for some of those folks, but I wanted to make sure we had a long enough track to kind of catch some other locations there. And then I'm going to add in the shorter term here some other locations that would show up kind of closer into that. Anderson we show at 5:34 there, Stokes 5:38, 5:42 there, Richland, Charlton about 5:44, eventually working its way, again, a lot of folks down there in central Mississippi on the north side there of the Jackson metro area, but Canton, looking at that for you at about 5:52. I want to check again the wind on this for a moment. Again, we do have some fairly broad rotation on that. I say that certainly an area that needs some babysitting for sure. So we'll have to see exactly how that continues to evolve. So I say that to give you a contrast to what we have up here, right? We'll have to change it to our closest radar, which is out of the Columbus Air Force Base. And when we look at the wind here, I don't have anything anywhere near as strong with rotation up farther north. Okay, so that's a benefit in this situation. We do not have rotation farther north of great significance. So we'll clear off that previous track. We'll go back here to the regular version of radar. We'll double check on power outages, things of that nature. We will show you the 7-day forecast. We'll kind of wrap up this kind of first version here. You can stick around with me as I put together some things. I'm probably going to take it full screen. You won't see me on the screen as we're looking at this here. We'll sort of answer some questions as we're trying to kind of work through all of our projections. But here's our severe risk area for today and the potential for an isolated tornado, very similar spots to what we were talking about just a moment ago there. But I think most importantly, the likelihood of a significant long track tornado, that is a lot less likely in this scenario here. So hoping that continues to be the case there on this. But again, tornadoes remain less of a likelihood. We are watching that storm near Flora. I'll probably leave this on that here for a moment as we kind of come down there. towards central Mississippi. This makes me now immediately think I need a secondary radar product that I can leave up in this scenario so I can keep working on stuff. But the concern is that I do have what I like to call an inflow channel there, starting to form an area where the rotation could get in. Let's look a little closer at this one more time. Man, you know, if this, let's check and see if this is elevated. That's kind of the key to this. So give me a moment. So this was one of our future casts, but ignore what you see on the screen here because I need to drop in something else. Actually, I know what I need to do. I need to dump in my show from last night on the back side of this. Give me a moment. Yesterday was 1-8. That one's got to be me, right? I want to insert. Ooh, I hope it doesn't insert it right there. I want to insert that later. Give me a moment. What I'm looking for is that combination of fuel and where I had the storms. Really like the one we used at 5 and 6 o'clock last night. And I think that is kind of the answer to this scenario here. Okay, so give me a moment here. Here it is. Yeah, that does a great job of this. Let's make sure this is on the most recent scan, most recent run of everything. Latest, okay. Okay, so let's walk through this. So here is the difference between our storms up here in North Mississippi and that. They look just as heavy when you look at the actual storms themselves on this futurecast there. But notice how in Madison, we talked about this last night, right? How in Madison and down south, there's more instability. This is surface-based instability. This is the kind that could potentially end up trying to produce a tornado. So as I'll pull off the precipitation on this for a moment. Give me a minute here. We're gonna fix this. I am too blind to have my monitor too far away, so we're gonna move this a little closer. So give me a second here to get that closer to my face. There we go. That's better. We're gonna learn how to do this. It's just gonna take, I used computers in a very specific way for a long period of time. Now we're gonna have to learn what works best in this situation here, and I think this probably will as well. Okay, so click delete on that layer. Okay, and we'll kind of go back. Can I go Control Y? Yeah, Control Z. Okay, so watch here north of Madison where we have that one rotating thunderstorm, and watch how that is in this orange versus out here all of our storms, not so much. It's in colors that are not as impressive. So there's more fuel up here than it looked like there would be. But this surface-based fuel is more widespread down south. That's important because that shows us that this storm could potentially become surface-based and does have a greater chance of potentially producing a tornado down there. So let's watch how this kind of progresses and whether or not our risks kind of continue to increase. You could see even through, say, 8:30 or so, as we... I can do that. There we go. As we get here closer to 8:30, how where we show the storms, Aberdeen, look at Columbus, look at Amory. See how those are ahead of that surface-based instability? That's important. Where it's still in the colors, that's where the tornado threat still exists at that time. And for most of us, it's not in the colors. And that's why when we looked later this morning and into later today that these thunderstorms down there, and yeah, I know I said they're in the colors and some of those look like they're not. Well, the reason those aren't in the colors is because they're mixed in the atmosphere. Everything here is surface-based as we go into this afternoon. It's just the question is if we have enough that is far enough north for us. We do have more instability up here. It is closer. Those are adjustments on our projections versus where we had it last night. And then if these storms can get going back out there into, let's see if we get time there where it stops. It stops at 10 o'clock tonight. Not impossible to get kind of secondary push of some instability out here, and these thunderstorms strong and severe as they roll in later into the evening for tomorrow. So with that in mind, as we check out that 7-day forecast, I think we've kind of addressed everything else at this point here. Before we go there, one more look at kind of our severe threats. I would say this largely remains the same. I'd say confidence in a brief spin-up tornado remains fairly low, all things considered, not an impossibility. We expect some strong wind gusts, a possibility out of this, a limited hail threat, and then flash flooding possible, but maybe not exactly 100% likely out of this. So let's look at that. Well, let's hit hour by hour, and then we'll hit 7-day forecast. And I joked with somebody last night. It's like, I don't need to put in all of my what we would call the let's go back a graphic. I don't need to put in all my pause points on some certain things, and apparently I do. Let's show that one more time here. Skip that forward. There we go. Okay, so hour by hour forecast. Again, this is looking toward tomorrow. You can see tomorrow most of the stuff out of here early, right? And then much, much cooler temperatures on the way. So with that in mind now, let's zip down to the 7-day forecast here. And as you can see for tomorrow, again, cooler. Sunday, much cooler. And then keeping a lot cooler in the next week. So no residual tornado or severe weather threat beyond whatever we have out there this morning if you're planning ahead. And a good way, of course, to stay ahead of any of this is with the Mississippi Live Weather app. You can download that again for all of those various devices. Recommend you getting the app. It's the easiest way to find out if we're in danger, if we have any issues, anything like that. We'll bring it back here to analysis mode on Mississippi Live Weather Radar. Still watching that storm there in central Mississippi, close to Stokes and Charlton there, and Ballard, and moving toward Canton. This one, it looks pretty decent out there. So we check the shear product, one of those exclusive things here on Mississippi Live Weather, the ability for us to look at rotation tracks. There is some rotation on this there that bears some watching. So I'm going to get, nope, hold on. We need to fix that time. The time is incorrect. Let's see here. Click it. We're not wanting to. Okay, you must be smarter than the equipment, right? I don't know if I'll be able to kind of zoom this out far enough. There we go, about 42 miles per hour. There's a better time for Canton, 5:55. So everything we have here looks like I have some rotation with that. So definitely going to have to continue watching that. That's something we'll continue doing as I'm kind of working through everything else we're going to present so we can kind of put together something a little bit more cleaned up. But as you can see there, Mississippi Live Weather app. And if you have not gotten it at this point here, I just really recommend that you pick up Weather Call. It's a personalized tornado warning alert for you. If bad weather happens, it will let you know if it's something that you need to be paying attention to. So if we're not on the air, if it's the middle of the night, it will let you know if you're in that tornado danger zone as far as that's concerned. There is a cost that goes along with that, and so that's part of the reason why, again, but that's when making phone calls costs money. But this is something that for you will let you know if you're in danger, and it will call you to let you know that, hey, something bad's going on. All right. Our next broadcast should end up being here, typically every day we do broadcasts, if you're kind of new to what we do here, at 6:37, 7:30 a.m. That's not the next broadcast time this morning. We're as needed in this situation. I'm probably going to leave the live stream up, but just understand it's probably going to go full screen. It's going to be looking at a bunch of other stuff. If necessary, we'll kind of pop on with additional information, but watching things again pretty closely for folks there around the Canton area here in the Room to Room Weather Center. We're going to take a brief break, and we'll be back leaving the radar stream up as we continue our broadcast here. Keep it here for the latest.
Growing up, Gabe was naturally curious when he began to discover weather. Gabe just didn't want to know what was happening, but he wanted to know why it was happening. Gabe became fascinated with tornadoes, and it impacted his life. He wanted to pursue a career in meteorology. Even though Gabe grew up in Alabama, Mississippi has now become his home and his family. And one thing about Gabe is he keeps his family safe.
Okay, kind of behind the scenes stuff. This is how the sausage gets made. I got to get an update recorded for the web. Hopefully I can nail this first try. We'll find out whether or not that's in my skill set this morning. But I've got to get an update recorded for the web and for everything on the app. And so give me a minute as I kind of try to put something together for that. So you're going to kind of see a little bit of the behind the scenes on that. We're still watching this. What's going on? I hear Maggie, and I don't know why. There's something on the screen here back behind the scenes that's playing, and I don't think anybody else is probably hearing that, but we'll find out. So give me a moment. That's fun. While on there's one. Which one of these is? Give me a moment. Which of these 10,000 tabs is playing Maggie right now? I'm going to pop myself off a camera here for a minute, and we'll just leave the radar up for a second while I'm kind of putting this stuff together. So give me a moment here.
Right now, from the Room to Room Weather Center, here's Mississippi's Chief Meteorologist, Matt Lobhon. Right now, from the Room to Room Weather Center, here's Mississippi's Chief Meteorologist, Matt Lobhon.
Y'all, I'm not smart today, apparently. Can you tell I don't do the mornings? Thank you for somebody telling me that there's no sound. I was dumb and I turned off my sound over here thinking I'll turn it off while I'm trying to forecast stuff in case I got blow my nose or something like that. I left it off the whole time here. So for those of you out there that think I hung the moon and I'm perfect, I always say I'm not one day closer to my next mess up. Apparently that happens from time to time, and apparently this was that. I recorded two pretty good forecasts. We'll go ahead and re-rack here. Let's check analysis mode for a second. I have to get something up on the 24-hour channel. That's kind of the purpose of what's going on here. I bet that's James telling me I got no sound on there. Yep, that's what James was letting me know. It's like, hey, you got no sound. I appreciate the Storm Chasers for having my back on that, and all of you as well. Let's look down at Central Mississippi real fast, and then we'll re-record that. So clearly I'm going to have to put a trigger in there that it forces all the microphones open in that situation. Yeah, rotation not as good on this as it was a little bit ago, not as impressive on this as it was a little bit ago, so that's a good sign. Again, there is still some shear, some rotation closer to Canton. But kind of looking at this is not as well organized. It's also kind of moved on the north side there, so we'll see. Apologize for that. Brain doesn't work this early in the morning on little things, on the details. And one of the hard things about this versus the TV station, see, at TV station I would hear myself when I was talking. Right now I hear everything but myself. So sometimes I don't realize I'm not talking on the air. Okay. So, and I can actually create a mix here behind the scenes where I have my microphone in my ear, and I'll probably do that. That's for later. Let's re-rack this. So I'm going to record the thing for the 24-hour channel. This is the forecast you'll see on the 24-hour channel for a little while today. So you've seen the graphics from it. You get to see the way the sausage is made here, and we're going to re-record it with with everything else on it. So give me just a moment.
Right now, from the Room to Room Weather Center, here's Mississippi's Chief Meteorologist, Matt Lobhon.
We're watching the potential for showers and thunderstorms today. Most will be below severe limits, but from time to time, we could have some strong wind gusts and maybe a brief tornado. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lobhon. Thank you so much for supporting us here on Mississippi Live Weather. Our hour-by-hour forecast, as you can see through the day here, expecting us to have, again, fairly widespread storms early, a break around midday, and then more storms later on tonight. 2 rounds, both with the potential to occasionally be strong, both mostly below severe limits. That's certainly what we're experiencing now. Latest update here on our severe risk areas. You can see southern 2/3 of the area and really southern 3/4 of the state under this level 2 out of 5 risk. A limited number of reports possible out of this. Tornado risk in particular. As far as that is concerned, brief tornadoes not an impossibility, but most of us probably not seeing tornadoes today, especially the far northern part of the state. And this is maybe the big headline here. No strong tornado risk out of this setup. Damaging wind gusts, again, not an impossibility. Certainly greatest risk, central Mississippi, Canton, back toward Jackson, DeForest, the Meridian. There's really multiple chances there, and that's where the math on this works out to this slightly greater risk. And large hail, we'll discuss this in a minute. Secondary round later on tonight possible, and that could be where that figures in. Here is Futurecast. As you can see, heaviest storms by 10 a.m., mainly in the eastern portion of the area, again, continuing to work their way toward the east there. But you see how we have an additional flare-up of storms back toward Louisiana? More fuel that direction, more chances as we progress throughout the day. So let's walk through this. Noontime, we are mainly dry, honestly, at that point in time. Rainfall increases in coverage as we go here, 2, 3, 4 o'clock. And the important thing to note about that point here is if you look closely, this is mainly greens and yellows. There are some spots down here, like down there near Noxubee County, Pickens County, Alabama, where we're a little stronger. So again, there's where that damaging wind threat, maybe brief tornado threat, could be more likely in the afternoon. We have seen a shift. I want to be clear here, a little farther north versus what we had last night. As we talked about, we expect wobbles in the positioning of this front. Speaking specifically to that here, as we go towards 6, 7 o'clock, again, this is just rain, nothing severe in the northern part of the state, but by that time our attention starts getting focused more back toward Louisiana and kind of that next round closer to the center of this storm system. As this kind of moves in, there will be some severe weather threats tonight that does extend back into the Delta. How far into North Mississippi, that is something we will be updating as we go throughout the day today here, because certainly a possibility there. So hour-by-hour forecast, we're looking at 65 at 8 a.m., 69 again, 11 a.m., and rain coverage peaking in the morning, somewhat of a break midday into maybe early evening, and then more thunderstorms strong to severe as we head later on into tonight. As we look at that 7-day forecast there, we're 63 Saturday, much cooler for Sunday, and then obviously a lot cooler and cold enough that you'll probably need to be wrapping some of those outdoor spigots as we look toward the first part of next week. Live broadcasts, we have those every day, Monday through Friday, 6:30, 7, 7:30 a.m., 5, 6, and 10 in between as necessary. Updates here. Thank you so much for supporting us. And if you don't have Weather Call, you need to make sure that you have that. It is a phone alert that lets you know if you're in the danger zone. It is a personalized tornado warning. I have it for my family. You should have it for yours because let's be honest. Phones are disruptive. They wake us up. They let us know if we need to get to danger. Weather Call is important for you. We'll see you in the Room to Room Weather Center through the day. Keep it here for the latest.
As a bankruptcy firm, Mitchell, Cunningham, and Bowling realizes many people are worried about their finances. We're here to guide you through the next steps to restart your life with easy video appointments. New clients don't have to leave home to get information about becoming debt-free. Also, convenient in-office appointments are available at the low cost of $340 upfront for a Chapter 13. You can be on your way to being debt-free. Contact Mitchell, Cunningham, and Bowling today or visit our website at mcdebtfree.com. We are here to help you.
Mississippi's trusted weather experts. This is Mississippi Live Weather This Morning.
Hey, thank you for staying with us here on Mississippi Live Weather This Morning. I'm going to bring this back in here and get things aligned. Thank you for joining us. The current time is 6:04 a.m. Again, you're getting to see a little bit more of a behind-the-scenes, less polished version here because there's a few things. Typically, our live broadcasts don't start until 6:30 a.m. And so I'm going to have Mama Justice Doppler radar on next to me here. But what I'm going to be doing, I'll put this into a loop. We'll try to answer some questions as we go. But there's just some housekeeping sort of things I have to do so that people coming into the app and trying to watch us get everything that they need. So I appreciate y'all for your patience as we do that. One of the things I've got to do, have to make sure that we have the latest forecast up on the app. That's what you just saw me record a second ago, the short forecast. So I know sometimes you're going to come in here and go, well, he just get to it. The reason why we don't get right to it sometimes on the forecast is this is a long form platform. What is happening now, what we can talk about. But we have the short form of our forecast available on demand. So give me a second here so I finish that. Matt's Friday. One thing I've learned over the years, I cannot type and talk at the same time. Friday AM forecast. Strong storms possible Friday for some. And so this is a forecast that will be updated in just a moment on our app. You'll be able to see it right there. On, done, next. So in about 45 seconds, that will be updated on the app, which is the cool thing about this is just how quickly we can finish and fix and get things updated as we need to. Assuming my mic is on, which clearly it was not for a couple times there. Okay, we should be good there. We'll copy that. Publish. Okay, and there. And now the forecast on the app is updated. And if you're like, well, hold on a second here, where's that at? So if you don't have it, you need to make sure that you get the Mississippi Live Weather app. Because right now, on that app, I need to make sure I'm back into my switcher over there. Right now, if you're on that app, look at that. I have that set up to bring Gabe Maynor there. I might have doubled up something. I'll bet I put the Gabe Maynor and that on the same thing. That's interesting. Well, there was Gabe Live last night. Note to self, can't use the QR code thing, so I'll show you a different way. We'll hit the Build to Armor button. There we go. And then we'll clear off that overlay. Still learning here. Anyway, a lot of stuff going on your screen. That's how you get the app. But if you want that quick forecast, and here's the thing, I understand a lot of folks probably do. If you go to the Mississippi Live Weather app, right? I'll wait for that to load there. You can see a little pop-up. You can see the live stream. It's just a little bit behind because you still see Gabe Maynor's face there. But if you scroll down, there's a place right at the top pretty much there that says Video Forecast. You click that, and that forecast you just watched me record a second ago.
Right now, from the Room to Room Weather Center,
I'll make it full screen.
Mississippi's Chief Meteorologist Matt Lobhon.
We'll watch the potential for showers and thunderstorms today. Most will be below severe limits. But it's that simple. So I will say that if our broadcasts here may be a little longer winded than you're looking for, completely understand that. But on demand, we have that video forecast there. It's in the Mississippi Live app, Mississippi Live Weather app. Just search for MS Live, and we're on Roku. So if you don't want to watch us on the little screen, I get that. We have a Roku app, we have an Apple TV app, and God willing, creek don't rise. We're getting closer there to a Fire Stick app. I know I've said that for 6 months, but I can tell you there's actually progress there. And we appreciate the good folks that have been helping us out for that. So let's kind of look at some stuff here again. This is more long form content. You want the forecast in a nugget and fast, that's the way to get it, the Mississippi Live Weather app. So as I kind of clear things back off here for a moment, kind of bring it back more to our normal view here on Mama Justice Doppler radar. Do have this one storm out here that's kind of moved through Mabin. We checked out that Mabin Camry a little bit ago. Current time 6:09. Let's kind of look there in Mabin now. And I'll make sure that's Storm Chasers, so just in case something's going on that there. I'm just looking at the windy conditions. And you can see fairly windy there in Mabin at this time as well. I need to turn my alerts on this, on my cameras here at the house go off. And that's what that boop, 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 boop is. And it just always drives me nuts. So I'm gonna have to, as you can see, stop that here in a second. So I apologize, we're kind of behind the scenes stuff. There's what's going through Mabin. As you can see, fairly windy at that location there as well. Let's look out in just ahead of that there. This is getting closer to the Starkville area, this camera on the west side of town there. Some lightning showing up there at 8 to 10 on the west side of town. You're gonna make me do login stuff, aren't you? We are not doing this. We're just going to delete that app today and we will re-add it later. Appreciate North Mississippi Storm Chasers for moving that camera around here for me. Yes, I want to delete that. I'm gonna regret that decision later when it's like, why can't I see these cameras? So I deleted it. So still kind of waiting on it to get there. It'll get to 8 in here in a minute. For whatever reason, it does not look like I have the little radar image on the corner of that one there. We'll have to add that in. Let's clear that off. Again, that is just a little west of town. Checking on the wind potential on this there. Okay, will you guys promise me something? That you're not going to get all bent out of shape if I take off my jacket. It's not the weather. It's just hot in here. And my options are cool everyone else down here by freezing them out because I'm wearing long sleeves and they're not, or take off my jacket. So jacket's off, not because the world is ending. Jacket's off just because I needed it off. Someone wanting to know if Tupelo Nettleton is out of the tornado risk. No, but the risk is greater to your south. And that's kind of what we showed on that Storm Prediction Center graphic a little bit ago there. But yeah, I'm not seeing anything down here that I'm overly concerned with as far as any rotation is concerned. Let's get kind of a storm track on this kind of heaviest part of this line here, stretching from west of Aberdeen there, down closer to, say, the Starkville area. So we'll go about, let's go about 40, 44 miles per hour. And let's extend that track out a little farther, if we can. Say how fast we want to go with this. Let's go about 75 miles per hour there. Excuse me, 75 miles on the track. So we show Starkville at 628 there, Aberdeen 629, West Point 635, Caledonia at 630, 659 there. Moving toward Columbus at 702, Millport at 726 there, Kennedy at 733, and Fayette by about 741. That is going to be some gusty wind, but again, as we check the different threats and we look at the shear, the rotation on this, I don't have anything that's very strong. Is there a little rotation? Yes. Did we talk about rotation being in this line last night? Yes. But let's compare it for a moment here. And what we have down there closer to Canton was a little more impressive a little bit ago. Let's check out the Jackson radar site, and that will do a better job of kind of giving you a comparison there. And you notice how this has a slightly brighter hue to it. And if I go back a few scans here, you can see it had a lot brighter hue to it. It was a much more red sort of color with this. So this is stronger shear down south versus what we have up farther north. So one of those signs that, again, farther north here, these storms are weaker, have less fuel to kind of work off there. Certainly a lot of rainfall with them, and there is going to be lightning. And that's what we have, these cameras for, to kind of check out these storms as they get closer. We're looking in Clay County there, kind of back towards some of the thunderstorms there. We'll double check to make sure that the camera is all looking in that direction. We might have to go through and independently kind of swing these cameras around more to the south and west. Pick up our camera there, and let's go West Point. Let's make sure we're looking the correct direction here. Yeah, we're looking kind of southwest. I'm going to look more directly west for a moment on that. So let's go ahead and adjust that camera shot. Again, that's looking kind of back to the west. You can kind of see some low-hanging stuff out of this, but No tornadoes, anything like that coming out of that camera there. We're 74 that temperature, coming 65 for that measure of moisture, that dew point at that time. Again, the storm's still primarily a little bit to the west. Check out a couple other cameras here as well. Let's come up here in Monroe County. I know we always have some stuff there. By the way, I see Jazzy asking about any school outages. No delays or anything that I've heard of. I don't think there should necessarily be delays. These are going to be thunderstorms. These are not going to be tornadoes. And let's be clear about what we're doing here. Talking about this like we're talking about this is going to be different than it was at the TV station. I don't have Good Morning America or the Today Show or football to worry about. We can just talk. And I have to also, by the way, learn my limits, because I can talk for 24 hours straight and physically I can't. But my brain and coming up with stuff to talk about, I can do that. And so we're going to have to figure out what boundaries look like for me. And I don't know that yet. Because if you're asking questions, I've been trained to answer those questions. But I'll tell you right now, I full on, could hardly move at about 7:30 last night because I just talked too much during the day and didn't need to. This is not a high-end severe weather event. Outside in Aberdeen, some rainfall there, but we're watching. Is everybody going to school? Yes. Should everybody be going to school this morning? Yes. Now, I have not heard any differently. That's not to say something weird hasn't happened, but we should be in good shape on everyone going to school. Okay. Let's go ahead and we will kind of bring it back in here. We showed you kind of the forecast a minute ago there. I need to get a drink of water and do some stuff like that. So what I'm going to do is I do that here for a minute, is I'm going to attempt to be smart, and I'm going to kind of keep the radar on and leave it on here for a moment. I'm going to go grab a drink of water, grab something to munch on because I haven't eaten anything this morning here, and we'll have updates as we go through the next little bit. Our next full-on broadcast, we kind of start our broadcast schedules at 6:30. So I need a few minutes here to kind of get ready for that. So I'll let you guys stick around. You can keep watching what I'm doing here behind the scenes, but I'm not going to be necessarily talking about that here in a minute. We will have an update on the overall risk areas. We can talk about that here in a sec briefly, and then we'll kind of hop on that here on our next main part of this broadcast. Adjustment to the severe risk area coming out here in the next few minutes on how far north. Again, some of the threats have been adjusted. That coming up here in a few minutes as well. But we'll let this sit on Mississippi Live Weather Radar here for a moment. I'll leave it kind of looping for you so you can see that. But I'm not going to be talking about it for the next few minutes here. So we'll kind of leave that up, and we'll talk to y'all here in just a minute.
As a bankruptcy firm, Mitchell, Cunningham, and Bowling realizes many people are worried about their finances. We're here to guide you through the next steps to restart your life with easy video appointments. New clients don't have to leave home to get information about becoming debt-free. Also, convenient in-office appointments are available at the low cost of $340 upfront for a Chapter 13. You can be on your way to being debt-free. Contact Mitchell, Cunningham, and Bowling today or visit our website at mcdebtfree.com. We are here to help you.
Mississippi's trusted weather experts. This is Mississippi Live Weather This Morning.
Well, good morning. Chief Meteorologist Matt Lopon here. Thank you so much for supporting us here on Mississippi Live Weather as we are tracking obviously some active and severe weather this morning. We'll get you a forecast as we kind of... Well, come on. There we are. Apologize for that. I unplugged the monitor a minute ago, trying to move stuff around. Have a list going here this morning of all the things you could do wrong. We're adding another one to it. But here's some of the things you can do right watching us here on Mississippi Live Weather. And we appreciate y'all for doing that and sticking with us here this morning. We've had some of your chat on the screen from time to time. We'll do that from time to time this morning as well. As you can see here, hour by hour forecast as we progress throughout the morning. Here's what you need to know. Tornadoes remain very unlikely in the northern third of the state, which is where most of our viewers are. As we go throughout the morning, we'll have some thunderstorms, but most remain below severe limits. We'll be 70 by noon, low 70s for highs. And again, expecting some thunderstorms, but expecting most to be below severe limits. Outside, as you can see, our risk area for today, really for locations southern 2/3 of the area. One thing you will note, this has changed. As you can see here, and I'll go back and show you the adjustment that's been made. Storm Prediction Center, Norman, Oklahoma, making that here in just the last little bit. As I get my monitor here a little more oriented where I need it. So I think I should be able to make this loop over the last hour. You can see that adjustment, the way it's trimmed southward. They did just put out a tornado warning there just south of Kosciuszko. We're going to jump past all this. We're going to hop right to that. So give me just a moment here as we take that out of play mode, and we'll come over here to analysis mode and let's check that out. So that's just south of our area. As you can see there, new tornado warning down here closer to Carthage has been issued. Give me just a moment. We're going to reboot our live stream here to make sure everybody knows. So just a second. We got a couple things to deal with. We'll get a storm track on it. You're watching it first here on Mississippi Live Weather. Tornado warning down there closer to Carthage. So it's come in here, click that on there so you can see the confirmed tornado report on that, latest scans on that, latest radar for down there. And then we have a camera fairly close by that we are going to check here in just a second. So tornado warning, this is that same storm that we have been watching with that rotation. According to the National Weather Service, confirmed tornado on this storm here. Let's get a storm track at 40 miles per hour. And let's turn on everything that we can. And then we have to re-rack. The one problem with going live and staying live and not having anything is people tend to miss out. So let's make this, 30-minute track there. We're going to put on everything that we can in that track ahead of that there. So there are some times as we leave that on your screen. Give me a moment here so we could take a look at it, observe the way they would describe it on the latest update coming up here in just the last couple of moments. So this is locations there in Leake County. This is south of Attala County and just south of our primary coverage area here on Mississippi Live Weather. With that in mind, we're going to go ahead and re-rack things. So give me just a second so that we can do that. Make sure we have a push alert that we can put in place for some folks there. We're going to send out, make sure people know that a tornado has been confirmed for some of those locations. So give me just a second to kind of zoom into our area so we can geo-target storms. And so that's what we're going to do. So give me a moment. Copy. This is going to be a weather alert, and this is going to specifically tell these folks that there's a confirmed tornado heading toward them. Ooh, nope. Delete. And typically if Gabe or someone else here, this would be a lot easier to do this kind of stuff. Find a shelter. Okay, and we are going to clear the location involved. And we are going to do a polygon right there ahead of this. So we're going to take that out past Philadelphia. I'm going to include the southern part there of Noxubee County, though not as concerned with them. We're going to send that message out to those folks there so they know that, hey, there's a confirmed tornado heading generally in their direction, so they need to be thinking about where they're going to for a sturdier shelter. Now they have that information. Okay, we'll clear that out. We'll put this back on where everybody can get our alerts. Okay, and so we'll come in here and again track. We do not, on this, as you can see, we do have some of that shear near St. Anna. I'm looking at the wind mode here and a number of different projections. Let's check for debris on this. Perhaps we briefly had a little bit of tornado debris. I'll clear that off for a moment. Let's go back a scan or so here. That might be exactly what we're looking for right there. Flip my monitor behind the scenes here. Make sure we're on the latest. That might be, let's double check the wind mode here. That would have been the spot, precipitation. Yeah, possibly had a brief tornado there as it moved into Leake County. Let's bring in the latest scans here, there. So that's near Santa Ana. So for Carthage, this is on the north side of Carthage there, where we're looking at the potential. This could be a tornado that has touched down for some spots there. Going back here to the shear mode. Let's walk that back a couple of scans. Kind of check and see how that is working. I've got to fix this. Hold on. Ugh. All my stuff's got to end up in the right spots. Move my water bottle. There's a water bottle there. I'm just going to be there for a minute. Let's get this on over. Does look like they've gone and done an interior tornado warning on this. Probably because this one has may have lifted. I'm interested to see, go wider on this. So you have the confirmed tornado in the middle, and that's going to take precedence. Continue with an observed tornado warning as of a couple of minutes ago there. Doppler radar indicates rotation that could potentially be a tornado, at least in the generation phases there. So what do folks down there need to do? We need to make sure that we are in our safe place, safest possible location down there. That would be, again, lowest floor of a sturdy structure, a small windowless room where you can wrap up in blankets, pillows, put on a helmet to protect yourself from the potential for debris, and then stay there until we can give you the all clear for some of those locations. Places where we don't want to be in this are unsafe places. That'd be cars, trucks, mobile homes, large open rooms, rooms with windows. We need to make sure we're avoiding all of those locations because this could be a significant, and obviously it's a scary situation. Recommend that folks, again, that you have the Mississippi Live Weather app. It'll keep you ahead with alerts, regardless of what's going on. Should be in good shape if you have that and know where to go. So Mississippi Live Weather app, again, free and available for all of your different devices there. Leake County tornado warning in effect for you on the kind of southern fringe of the Mississippi Live Weather viewing area here near Santa Ana, moving toward Hoptacala there. And I'm going to try to put, the line, there's different ways in which we're going to utilize this system. I think one of those ways is that I am going to, I'll put on all those different rotation things as well. But I'm going to probably most of the time kind of point out that one spot there and let you know then that that's the area that we're kind of concentrating on that there. Double check with our discussion back and forth with the North Mississippi Storm Chasers on this. Yeah, Madison-Lee County line. It does look like the folks at Jackson, again, confirming what we were talking about there. A brief tornado touchdown confirmed associated with this storm there. Watching it closely nonetheless. That area of rotation near the Santa Ana area at this time as this moves toward the east. So let's get a new storm track on this. And before we do, I need to change something behind the scenes here that allows me on storm tracks to put on basically all sorts of cities. We typically have kind of a smallest city that we typically count on this, and I'm going to do my duration, 45 minutes. That's fine. Actually, we're going to do duration of 30 minutes on this so that we are able to be in a little closer and get these tracks just right. So again, near Santa Ana where we show this, and speed on this, we got to get that better. There's some things I'm going to have to learn on how to do this. There we are. There's about 43 miles per hour. So Santa Ana now, Hopkala there, Hapaka there at about 6:55. And I apologize that I'm going to have to learn some new names here. Midway at 7 o'clock, Battle Bluff 7:01, Coosa at 7:02, Pearl Hill 7:02, and Edinburgh there at 7:08. I point out Edinburgh because we do have a camera down there in the Edinburgh area. Unfortunately, we cannot move this camera. I believe it's kind of locked on this shot here. You're watching Mississippi Live Weather. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lawpon. As we are tracking some storms, it looks like, again, starting to get lighter there. Is it that light outside? I'm just not. This one certainly looks like we have it kind of tuned up to where it's as bright as we can get on this shot here at this moment, kind of looking to see what we see in the clouds there. Again, you're under a tornado warning here in the Edinburgh area there as this storm sort of moves in. So certainly watching things very well for that spot. We will have eyes on this as it gets a little bit closer. I don't see anything there of significance. Hey, James, if you'll drop it in the chat here, what direction that camera, I want to double check what direction that camera is moving, make sure it's moving in the correct direction. But we do have, as you kind of see on the corner of the screen there, this is a confirmed tornado warning. We at least briefly had confirmation of a tornado touchdown moving there into the Edinburgh area at this time. So again, this is one county. You can see Kosciuszko, you can see Louisville on that map there for some of those locations. That's where you know, the kind of southern fringe of our viewing area, that'd be the kind of the bottom part of Choctaw County. This is south of those locations that we are watching. We're going to come north here for a moment. We're going to kind of showcase outside of that. We're going to leave that storm track up. You can see tornado warning confirmed for those locations. I'm leaving the times on the screen here for a moment as we kind of check out other spots. So again, that we're making sure that we are as aware as we can. Yeah, that camera's facing north, unfortunately. So that might end up being appropriate as we get a little bit closer. But checking out precipitation mode up here a little farther north. Storms are weaker up here farther north as well. So as you can see here up closer to West Point, Vinton there, cameras show a much less active look as we come up here to Clay County. Again, North Mississippi Storm Chasers providing these cameras that we're watching here, kind of socked in the fog and cloud cover there in Clay County at this moment. Not a lot of visibility. Let's go to the west part of Starkville there, which is kind of still back on the back side of this, and you can see the clouds kind of moving a little more quickly behind this initial wave. While we do have some thunderstorms associated with this initial wave here, most of the thunderstorms again are below severe limits this far north. Come up here to Aberdeen, kind of closer to this line as well. Different shots of this. The rain kind of picking up there, Aberdeen at this point. I know we've had some folks in the chat asking, hey, do we need to worry about sending the kids to school? I would say you're good to send your kids to school. You just have to build in the extra time this morning. It's 6:46. I know my kid's up and kind of moving around, getting a little food in there. Yours probably are as well. But the headline is that storms this far north are a lot less likely to produce tornadoes, and so hopefully do not end up producing tornadoes. You can join our conversation on YouTube, on Facebook there beside me, and of course, as you can see on the bottom, that Mississippi Live Weather app, keeping you ahead of these storms at this time. Let's reset things here for a moment. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lawpon. You're watching Mississippi Live Weather on the Mississippi Live Weather app, available for Android devices. For iOS, you can see that on the bottom. And if you're a person who, say, isn't an Android person and you instead prefer Roku, something along those lines, well, you can pick us up on those different devices as well, free and available for all those different devices there. Now, you're going to see this drop out for me for just a moment because we did take a power hit here at the house a moment ago. Let's check and see if we are on. We on backup power in there, little boy, or are we on regular power? We're on regular power. Good to hear. Okay. What that's done is that's knocked this out. So you're going to see this get gross for a second as I disconnect and reconnect from the radar screens. Give me a moment here to do that, the power cycle that. As you know, sometimes when we take a power hit like that, even the TV station we take that, we'd have to kind of reconnect to some things. So I'm going to reconnect to our main radar source here for a moment. It'll take it a second as we have the spinning circle of I love this ongoing. We do have other radar options if push really comes to shove on that. I'm going to get one of those up and going just as well because it doesn't look like that's very happy. So give me a moment to pop up our other radar source and bring it onto the screen here. So just a second. Hey Leo, I appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, so this is kind of our backup radar for when we get into this situation here. So let's take a look here now. So let's come back in, and so this won't be as pretty as the other one until we get that up and going. But you can see here on Mississippi Live weather radar, again, some showers and thunderstorms out there. Again, we were looking kind of closer to the West Point area. These are all below severe limits. So that's kind of the big headline here. No severe weather from this portion of the line as we're watching it. Certainly some gusty winds from time to time, a possibility. But again, below severe limits here. And I think that's just off the screen, yeah, on some of the other stuff. We're checking the wind mode here. Again, nothing that I'm overly concerned with on this line as well. Another way in which we can kind of showcase that is kind of put the place here on the current scan, and we'll go back a couple of scans so we can adjust the velocity, the wind mode on this accordingly. And then it's a storm motion from marker there. And let's bring it in here to the storm relative motion. And again, broad rotation, something this has, but nothing that's too terribly impressive at this time. Obviously, it's a different story farther south, where we do have that tornado warning that does remain in effect. Latest update as of 7:45. Again, tornado warning remains in effect. The description on it, though, radar indicated as opposed to confirmed tornado. You can see how the color kind of changed on that as well. A sign that this is not as impressive. We're going to slide southward on a different view on our radar here for a moment. Again, appreciate everyone for watching us here on Mississippi Live Weather. As we kind of slide southward and look at this, it's going to pull in new data. It's going to take it a second to do that. But I did want to make sure that we have the latest data on what has previously been a confirmed tornado touchdown. Speaking to that, we'll come back here again to the precipitation mode, and the rotation on this does not look quite as impressive as it did even just a few minutes ago. So that's some good news. Hopefully that does continue. I'm going to actually open up a different instance of this. You'll see again, this is going to be our standard site. And I will actually flex between these two. So come back here. Again, north of Carthage and Redwater, near Hopka there, where this was, and Maridel. Edinburgh, you can see right about there. That's where we're looking at that camera a minute ago here. That storm, less impressive than it was. Certainly the rotation, you can just kind of see that on the rotation viewpoint there. That has diminished a lot. Somebody asking about the storm there closer to the Hattiesburg area. Again, a couple of tornado warnings down that direction there. Let me see my closest radar on that. Give me a second here. Site. You have to give me a minute. This is not my typical radar view, but it does look like the typical one has decided to take a nap, which apparently can happen from time to time. So we're going to open up another instance of this for the radar down there. So give me just a moment, and we'll answer that question for you. Site. Okay. I'm at Alt-Tab. There we go. And this one we're going to force farther south. So we'll have an answer for you on that here in just a moment. on these tornado warnings down here closer to Columbia. Again, this is not true coverage area, so we're not going to spend a ton of time on this because we are going to kind of bring it back north here in just a moment. But just kind of looking at this, some still fairly broad rotation on both those thunderstorms there. You saw it was a fairly wide tornado warning initially, and they've kind of confined it a little more closer to the center of this there. I'd still stay fairly broad rotation on that one. The one it's near here, Boglucha, I apologize, that Boglucha. One of these days I'll get better. This one eventually, we got a long ways to go before it moves toward Hattiesburg. If this is moving about 35 miles per hour, that's still 40 miles away. That's still more than, I would say, an hour and 10 minutes away from there. So we're not going to spend a whole lot of time on that one as a result. And again, coming northward, we do have the tornado warning that's been issued for locations there closer to our Edinburg camera. But most of what we have up here in North Mississippi, as you can see, is below severe limits, thankfully. Okay, with that in mind, by the grace of God, the regular system has come back. Nice to see that be the case. Sometimes that happens. But as you saw there, one of the great things about Mississippi Live Weather is that we can do both. Aberdeen there, now that we've come back from whatever power disruption we had, you see plenty of rainfall at that point in time there. We're going to take a brief commercial break here, and we'll be right back with more continuous coverage here on Mississippi Live Weather this morning. Appreciate you again for downloading us. Like and subscribe. We'll be back in just a second.
Out with the old and in with the new. It's time to save big at Room to Room's New Year's sale. Store-wide markdowns 50 to 70% off. No tax. 48-month special financing. It's a new year at Room to Room Furniture in Tupelo. There's no place like home.
At First Choice Bank, we know you can't always make it before the bank closes. With our integrated teller, you can talk to a live person as late as 7 p.m. on weekdays and noon on Saturdays. It's not just an ATM, it's an ITM. First Choice Bank, your choice for banking.
Right now, from the Room to Room Weather Center, here's Mississippi's Chief Meteorologist, Matt Lobhon.
Hey y'all, come back from a little bit of a power disruption here, so I'm trying to get my AM show up and in here. So if you give me just a moment to do that, we'll be going here. For whatever reason, my AM show is not showing up in this list, so we're just in it fun. AM. I see Caleb's AM show. I see Maggie's AM show. There we go. This is the one I'm looking for. Okay, almost got it. We're going to make it through. Just stick with us here, and we appreciate your patience and support here. Typically, we would not take a commercial break with tornado warnings on the map, but I took a power hit, and so it's taken me a second to get everything kind of back up and going, so I had to take one. So I apologize for that. Speaking of, kind of get things back up and where this is supposed to look like there. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lobhon. Current time is now 6:55, and we'll probably reset things here in a minute in more detail. But let's bring it back in here to Mississippi Live Weather Radar, as we do show mainly showers that are non-severe in the northern part of the state. We do have a flood advisory that has been issued up here for Lee County for some of the heavy rainfall that we have had. And we have also had tornado warnings issued for some parts of the area. Now you will note that the tornado warning that was down here in Leake County has been canceled at this point. The rotation on that diminished significantly. That's part of why we were talking about it less and less. Good viewpoint on that is going to come from our camera that we do have down in Edinburg. And we're going to check out Kosciuszko here in just a second as well. Again, we have the brightness on this turned way up, so we're able to see a little better, but that heaviest part of that storm has kind of moved through. This is looking in northerly direction, so we don't have a great look directly at it, unfortunately, there. But you can still see that dew point, that measure of moisture at 68. That's fairly high, at least at that location there. That's one of the reasons we talked about where tornadoes are possible versus where they're more likely. The reason why they're not impossible up here is moisture values are decent, but in Edinburgh down there, you can see on the map about where that is, south of Kosciuszko, the moisture levels are a lot higher than they are in a few other locations. And Starkville kind of looking southward a little farther ways into those same storms. We do show all of our cameras there in and around Starkville area. Traffic moving, period. Moving this morning. Expect some extra patience and expect it to take a little bit of extra time for you to get to and from whatever destinations you're planning on getting to and from this morning here. As you look at the forecast for the first 12, a lot of rainfall this morning. Then we'll end up seeing a little bit of a gap there. And then we expect that we'll probably have, again, more showers and thunderstorms likely later on tonight as a secondary round kind of pops into the area. You can join the conversation with us here on Mississippi Live Weather, and we appreciate everyone who has been doing that there on our chat on Facebook as well as YouTube. I'm going to go ahead and close this door back behind here. Make sure we have everybody as focused as we can be on this. But again, the overall severe weather threat, again, early in the day, central Mississippi, and honestly throughout the whole event, for locations down in central and south Mississippi, a lot more likely here. Looking at the surface map, we can kind of analyze that for you. The temperatures at this time, we are warm. It's the measure of moisture, that dew point, that is one of the question marks. We'll look at that here in a second. So kind of on the wide shot here on Mississippi Live Doppler radar, we do have 2 tornado warnings down here in the southern part of the state. We don't explicitly cover this area. We will look at these in more detail here in a moment. But that is not part of our explicit coverage area, so we do have to make sure that we are fully covering the northern part of the state as well. Number of vehicles, it looks like are get some hydroplaning reports out there of some of what we're getting out of some of these as well. So just a reminder to just be safe and be smart about how you are planning to travel and where you are planning on traveling this morning here. I'll plug in my phone, make sure it is charged, because probably ends up being one of those days. Learning very quickly, I need more desk space. And again, there's a lot of little things we're going to learn like that here on Mississippi Live Weather as we kind of get rolling into this here. Okay, so let's look at dew point, a measure of moisture based on the same scale as the temperature. And the reason that is important is that dew point there is something that is kind of the limiting factor. And you can see how, as we talked about, being stretched farther north. But where we have these purplish sort of colors down here, that's where there's a lot more fuel. And you'll see that's where, right there, we have a couple tornado warnings. The farther south, where there's more available fuel, thunderstorms and severe thunderstorms are most likely. The severe weather risk today, as outlined by the Storm Prediction Center, that's something we will discuss in more detail here in just a moment. But we're going to kind of re-rack things here, and we're going to get off on kind of a clean start for our 6 o'clock broadcast here as Mississippi Live Weather returns here in about 60 seconds, about 30 seconds actually for this break here. So give me just a moment.
Mississippi's trusted weather experts. This is Mississippi Live Weather this morning.
Okay, we've been doing some pretty consistent coverage here this morning. Let's do a reset. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lawpon. Thank you so much for watching us here on Mississippi Live Weather. Current time is 7 a.m. Here's what you need to know as you get the kids ready for school, because my kids are getting ready in the other room there. They're going to school. Most of these storms are going to be below severe limits, and tornadoes are pretty unlikely here in the northern part of the state. So keep all of those things in mind to basically know that the severe weather potential as far as today is concerned remains pretty limited here in the northern part of the state. We have had at least one brief tornado touchdown for locations in and around Leake County, near the Leake and Madison County line. We do have a confirmed tornado touchdown in South Mississippi. That is this storm that we have here closer to Carthage, the one that we had our tornado warning on a little bit ago, within the last hour. We'll show you the loop here. You'll see that tornado warning issued. It was issued for tornado touchdown near the Leake and Madison County line. If you just use the eyeball test here on Mama Justice Doppler radar, what you will instantly notice is how there's a lot less red on that. Now that's the portion here that's in southern Winston County. So do we need to investigate it? Absolutely. And that's exactly what we're going to do. So we're up here close to Vowell, an intersection there of Mississippi Highway 19 and Mississippi Highway 9, where it is the most impressive at this moment. This is our strongest storm. Therefore, it deserves our most direct look at its impacts here. Checking the wind, checking the rotation, checking the shear. I do not see a whole lot there. And I point out this rotation threat product, something you'll see here on Mississippi Live Weather that you won't see other places. And you'll notice how that shear product here had a lot stronger returns when it was out here in Madison County. This is the point here in the Madison-Leake County line where if we check tornado debris mode, we had at least a brief tornado debris signature out of it right there. It's kind of hard to pick out, but probably right there, a brief tornado debris signature with that storm. Now that is completely gone. So any tornado debris on this is no longer a thing as this storm is lifting up here closer to, say, Vowell and Providence there, and eventually Louisville. So let's get a storm track on this. Again, moving about 40 to 45 miles per hour. This is below severe limits. Let's be crystal clear on that. But I know folks tend to get very cautious in this situation, and nothing wrong with that per se. But as you can see here, Noxapater 717, we're looking Estes 719, in the close term here, Ballas Chapel at 705, 707 there for Plattsburgh. But eventually we're Louisville here at 728, about a half hour from now, a little less than a half hour, 25 minutes or so. Evergreen there down in the Winston County area at about 734. And Craig Springs, Meshulaville, eventually as that works its way into part of Oktibbeha County and Noxubee County there. But again, below severe limits. And as far as severe threats go, heavy rainfall and honestly the likelihood of you hydroplaning, I would say, are much greater threats at this point in time here. In Adeton, which is in the western part of Oktibbeha County, we do show again the low clouds, 66 the temperature. The first kind of heavier batch of showers has moved through the Oktibbeha County area. If we come over to Clay County, we have more thunderstorms that are pretty much over top of you, but even those are a little bit to your east at this point in time, which is why we come over here then to our North Mississippi Storm Chasers camera in the Caledonia area. 69 the temperature, measure of moisture at 66. Again, a lot of rainfall there. Dark look at the clouds. No matter how dark the clouds look, these clouds are not going to produce tornadoes. Appreciate again the North Mississippi Storm Chasers, one of our partners here on Mississippi Live Weather. As we go back to the regular rainfall, rain mode here on Mississippi Live Weather radar, another thing we'll kind of point out on all these thunderstorms is I don't have really any concern of hail up here. Using our Hail Track product brought to you by True Shield Roofing, I don't see anything to point out on here. So I think we're good there. I do show a couple little spots. I say that, so let's double check these. A couple little spots we have up here, western Clay County. I think that's a radar anomaly. I don't think I see anything there. And then up there north of Caledonia as well. Now, I think even in that situation, I think it'd be a struggle to get hail. Now, you noticed last night when we were talking about this storm using our strike model as well as our HRRR model last night, honestly the night before as well, we said that there were some spots where there's rotation we weren't concerned with. This would be what we're talking about here because these storms have some broad rotation out here, but they're what we would call elevated, meaning that rotation is probably never going to translate closer to the surface. There's just the way in which they form is not structured on that. So on Mississippi Mama Justice Doppler radar here, kind of checking the shear mode on that. Yeah, there's a little bit showing up there. So let's go ahead and poke and prod this a little bit more because we were looking at that Caledonia camera toward this a moment ago. Let's check out that Caledonia camera again and let's go ahead and make sure we have that all pointed the correct direction on this because I think just to do our due diligence, probably something that is worth our while on this. So let's get this rotated the right way. As you can see, a lot of rainfall kind of picking up there. In a moment while this flips that camera around. It takes me a second to log in and kind of move these different cameras. Yeah, so we're kind of looking south. I'm going to look a little bit more west on this. Kind of pan it that direction there just in case. You definitely see that's so all the rainfall on there's a decent amount of gusty winds associated with this as well. So we're looking more kind of west northwest, kind of too deep in the rainfall at this point here to really have a good look in Caledonia. 68 the temperature. Again, that wind pretty driving at this point here as I'm going to look northward into this. We're going to go back to radar and we'll come back to this camera here in just a second. So let's come back over here to radar for a moment. Again, Caledonia. I kind of looking into and through that there, and I say that, and I might pan the camera. See, I'm trying to see kind of up into that little notch there, and I think we're getting, I don't think there's anything there that's overly concerning, but this is kind of that burst of wind. So 30, 40 mile per hour winds, certainly a possibility out of this storm, kind of based on what we're looking at here as well. Going a couple different ways of looking at the wind. You can kind of see that kind of pushing in. That's where that red is there, inbound into the Caledonia area. So watching it for you, but back over here on the rainfall mode and kind of widen things a little bit. Again, the thunderstorms continue all moving to the east. This whole batch here, we're still tracking about 40 to 45 miles per hour. We'll look down in Columbus specifically here in a moment. So make sure we get that just right there for all of our friends there out in Lamar County, Alabama. While we're having this discussion here, I do encourage you to continue your discussion with us and download the Mississippi Live Weather app. We have a lot of folks there, again, talking to us on Facebook, on YouTube, asking about, checking on Hattiesburg down there, requested, her daughter requested coverage. We'll look down toward Hattiesburg here in a minute. But as you can see, this line kind of moving eastward. You can see some times there, and we appreciate everybody who's, in our chat there on all the different social medias. It's one way, of course, which you can support us here on Mississippi Live, as it certainly is kind of a stressful situation, but I'd be sending everybody to school as far as this afternoon, or this day is concerned. Speaking up here, we do have a flood advisory in effect for locations back up around Lee County as well. Just heavy rainfall, that does mean some streams swollen, things of that nature. Outside of that, the far northern part of the area, there's not a whole lot to contend with here. That's why we're going to come back down here to Lowndes County and southern and eastern Monroe County. That's where things are the most impressive at this point. A reference, we'd come check out Columbus a moment ago. Let's check out our camera there in Columbus. Really, it's multiple cameras with the Mississippi Department of Transportation as that line kind of moves into the Columbus area. Again, gusty winds, certainly with this. A lot of rainfall, slowing down that commute this morning. So obviously a bit of patience, something you definitely need to build into whatever you are doing and contending with at this time. But yeah, showing up again with very rainy conditions. Does look like our cameras might have locked up there. So we'll have to check on power disruptions there in and around the Columbus area as well. Speaking of that point, let's go ahead and check out our power disruptions. Couple ways in which we can do that. There's kind of a broad brush way, and that's what we're going to kind of look at here, is with power outages. And on this here, this tends to run a little bit behind, but we don't have an extreme number of power outages out there. At this point, Carroll County with some of the greater quantity of power outages, as you can see there, about 6% of Carroll County, only about 1% or so of some spots. And just as we're talking about it, there's some of those Lowndes County power outages that have kind of popped on there as well. So certainly we appreciate the power cooperatives that go out and make sure that the power comes back on in this situation. But it looks like at least some power disruptions related to that down there in and around folks in Lowndes County in particular there. So as we check out your forecast over the course of the next 12 hours here, we do expect, again, we're kind of at the peak of the morning round of rainfall. Our storm potential will diminish from here for a little while going over the course of the next couple of hours. Most of the day, we don't have a lot of activity. Again, Golden Triangle, where you're looking down there, you're south of a warm front. And south of that front, that's kind of our focal point for where thunderstorms become the most likely. We'll be looking at that in more detail coming up here in 60 seconds as Mississippi Live Weather continues. Join the conversation on Facebook, on YouTube, and make sure you have that Mississippi Live Weather app handy for those latest alerts. And of course, the easiest way to find our live stream. We're talking about afternoon and evening. Brittany Jones wants to know about that. Afternoon tonight, What can you expect? That and more right after this.
As we move into storm season, here's something most homeowners don't realize after a storm. Roof damage isn't always obvious. Wind can lift shingles, breaking the seal. Hail can bruise them below, and flashing around chimneys and pipes can loosen without you ever knowing. That damage may not show up for months. If your area has strong wind or hail, a professional inspection will help bring you clarity before small damage turns into bigger problems.
As a bankruptcy firm, Mitchell, Cunningham, and Bowling realizes many people are worried about their finances. We're here to guide you through the next steps to restart your life with easy video appointments. New clients don't have to leave home to get information about becoming debt-free. Also, convenient in-office appointments are available at the low cost of $340 upfront for a Chapter 13. You can be on your way to being debt-free. Contact Mitchell, Cunningham, and Bowling today or visit our website at mcdebtfree.com. We are here to help you.
Right now, from the Room to Room Weather Center, here's Mississippi's Chief Meteorologist, Matt Lobhon.
Well, thank you here this morning. Current time is now 7:12, almost 7:13. You're watching Mississippi Live Weather here on the Mississippi Live Weather channel, on Facebook, on YouTube, and Roku. Don't forget about Roku as well as Apple TV. And at some point, I promise, we will get to Amazon Fire Stick. It'll get there. It'll get there. But by the way, someone mentioning suspenders this morning. It is hot in the room here, and there's children out there, and they get loud from time to time, so I had to close the door. So that's the reason we're in suspenders, not because we expect this to be overly strong. We have had briefly at least one tornado warning. More on the overall setup, and then we'll drill down in here for a moment. So on the wide shot here, as you can see, storm system back to the west, part of a system that sweeps in, eventually brings us much cooler temperatures, and also brings us a potential for the severe weather we have with kind of a secondary round later on today. That's how this all kind of plays out on the wide scale. As I look to Arizona and I see some snowfall on the plains, it reminds me again, our condolences to the Ole Miss fans out there on what was unfortunately a tough loss last night in the Fiesta Bowl. Obviously a very close game and an amazing season, so maybe congratulations are more in order as far as that is concerned. Looking here at the severe weather risk for today, as you can see, there has been some adjustment to that severe weather risk, and everything has to do with the positioning of this front moving in from the north and west and how this plays out. So again, north of this front, the severe weather threat is going to be a lot less likely. That's why this has been trimmed southward, especially this level 1 risk. But you notice very little adjustment to the level 2 risk. In fact, it's actually an expansion to the east, because south of this front is what we call the warm sector, and that will be the zone where we are most likely to see active and severe weather today. Looking specifically at the tornado threat, and you'll notice how that is, again, the reason why this level 2 risk has been extended there toward Montgomery, Alabama, a little deeper there on the south side of the Birmingham metro area. But largely, the areas here in Mississippi maintain and the same wind threat, similar locations. The hail threat's interesting, because this really shows us where that next round is later today, with storms that'll move in late this afternoon and eventually into tonight. As we check out the latest here on Mississippi Live Doppler radar here and on our rainfall mode, as you can see, again, a lot of thunderstorms that have moved through, and at least briefly we've had some tornado warnings today, like those storms down there kind of the west of Philadelphia in Leake County. A brief tornado touchdown earlier on the Leake and Madison County line detected on Mississippi Live weather radar. What we call it, the storm report on that. An indication that we had, again, some brief damage detected on radar. That storm has weakened substantially as it's moved eastward. As we tracked in very intimate detail a minute ago, that part of that line of thunderstorms is weaker. We are watching here in and around the Columbus area, our strongest part kind of moving through as we speak. And that's been very visible on our cameras there with the North Mississippi Storm Chasers, as we showed you a minute ago on some of those. So with that in mind, where do we go from here? Let's look at Futurecast over the course of the next couple of hours as this kind of line of storms sort of moves in. Doing a pretty good job here on Futurecast of showing where the storms are. A very wobbly line. I do think it is slow on this, so this is probably going to be a little bit farther east as of 9 a.m., kind of based on what we're looking at, and that tends to happen. Models like this tend to be a little bit slow on their positioning, especially when we're in the middle of an active weather event. And so as this line continues to push eastward, you'll notice the thunderstorms continue to be the strongest back out into Alabama. So I just as easily, if I were making an adjustment, rather than Brooksville, I'd have this more Aliceville there by around noontime. And again, this is our latest version of our HRRR model, but what I want to point out is what's going on back there into Louisiana. This is kind of important. Obviously, we're Mississippi live weather, but what comes into Mississippi is in particular what we're tracking. And so this batch of thunderstorms we have out there, kind of associated with our main storm system, as that lifts in, you can see how those start lifting northward a little farther, and we get more of the thunderstorms into our area. So this is the zone out here where storms are going to develop through the afternoon and then try to hug the front and maintain themselves into our area. And so while we do not have a high-end severe weather threat, if we are to see some storms that try to produce severe weather this afternoon, that's where they're going to be. Chris, real quick, I'm not going to address a lot of questions while we're in the midst of this. And you can join the conversation here on our different social media. But Chris's question here, I do think, is one that a lot of folks probably have. And that question is this: do we send kids to school? And the answer, I think, unequivocally in my brain is absolutely yes. You send the kids to school this morning here in our area. Because while we have some thunderstorm chances later, the projections took all these way south yesterday, and then while they've expanded a little farther north, and there will be a tornado threat with some of these, I think I solidly believe we need to make sure that we send those kids to school today. It's important for them to learn, and at this point, I'm not impressed. This is not a high-end tornado threat, as we've talked about. Okay, so back here into Texas. That's where those storms are the ones we're going to watch as we progress throughout the day. Again, join the conversation. You can do that on YouTube and Facebook and X, and those comments, something that you can share with us here. So let's progress in over the next few hours here and into the afternoon. As you can see, while we do have that flare-up late afternoon up here around the Golden Triangle and south and eastward, then I'll kind of shift south there towards central Mississippi, closer to Meridian and Demopolis by around 5 p.m. Here's the thing you need to know. This front is wobbling, so it wobbles south, and then we have additional storm development and see it start lifting back northward later on into tonight. So the takeaway being this, that it's just going to kind of go back and forth, and we're going to have to monitor this closely. There will be a cutoff at some point, wherever this front is, and I think this is a decent positioning on the front. You get north of this front, and tornadoes and severe weather becomes pretty unlikely. South that front, it becomes more likely. But you'll notice that this does continue later on into the evening and over into the overnight hours as well. So as we look at that forecast over the course of the next 24 hours, as you can see here, lots of thunderstorms this morning, but we're really past the peak of the morning thunderstorms. We see them diminish through much of the day with the exceptional locations in the southeastern portion of the area, and then pick back up as we head into the evening, and some of those still around again for the first part of tomorrow morning. Notice temperatures tomorrow morning were 50s to begin the day, 10 degrees cooler than today, and it's a day that does not increase those temperatures much at all. Okay, so here's that point in the discussion where I just go rogue and start pulling stuff up that I think matters. And so I'm going to pull up our triple threat. And if you haven't been watching us here on Mississippi Live Weather, this is kind of a new thing that you can only get here on Mississippi Live Weather. And so the triple threat allows us to look at a couple different projections here to sort of see where all of the severe weather threats are if you kind of layer them all at the same time. This particular projection, again, has the primary amount of rotation, severe weather on the southeast portion of the area. That does line up perfectly on our strike model here with where storms are. But what this also sees, again, this kind of looking at all the different types of severe weather threats all at once, does have that, again, flare up with storms back out there into Louisiana. And I'm looking at this newest version of the strike model at the same time you are, so we'll analyze this together. What you can clearly see, a lot of rainfall up here, but what we don't have is a lot of this red with rotation tracks or the damaging winds or things like that. So I'll address this here in a second, but I think big takeaway, we're going to have to watch back there in the Louisiana how those storms end up developing, whether or not those are able to still produce a threat as they get closer to us. Certainly the greatest threats south and east, closer to that main line of precipitation there. Most of the storms behind that are less impressive. But as I advance it here, this tells us, this shows us the kind of accumulated threat over the course of this whole event. You can see very limited rotation up here in the northern part of the state, a much more significant amount farther south, and that is the reason why, again, we have that greater severe weather threat farther south as well. So that is our triple threat, something that's an exclusive here to Mississippi Live Weather. As we look at that forecast for 7-day forecast here, you can see again 70s thunderstorms this morning, mostly below severe limits. Thunderstorms later today as well. Again, mostly below severe limits, but looking at, again, much cooler for your Saturday and a lot cooler for Sunday, with temperatures by Monday and Tuesday that are going to be down there into the 20s, and that does mean you probably need to be thinking about making sure those faucet covers are on there. You know, we've been pairing up with the folks at Absolute Cleaning and Restoration. They're giving away these faucet covers, you know, as we go through this winter season. There's not an infinite supply, but especially elderly folks in the community that can't afford this, don't want to, but can't afford this, they're willing to give these away to kind of make sure that we don't have problems. They do a good job of fixing things after the fact, but they're trying to help people to where they don't need to do that, because something as simple as this, or a towel over those outdoor spigots when it gets really cold, something that can protect them from freezing. So just some things to keep in mind there. Okay. Our next live broadcast is going to be coming up here at 7:30 a.m. here in the Room to Room Weather Center. I'm going to take a break here. We're going to send it for a moment back to the 24-hour channel. We'll re-rack things. We'll come on 7:30. That'll be our last update unless we have more significant severe weather. We appreciate everybody for watching us here. Like and subscribe. It's what keeps us in business, as you can see with those all the severe weather comments and things on there. We'll be back here in the Room to Room Weather Center in a few minutes. Keep it here for the latest.
March 24th, 2023 was a normal Friday. You know, we knew the weather was not good, but we needed to take shelter, and we didn't have shelter. My husband and almost 2-year-old daughter, Ethan and Riley, they did lose their lives in the storm. We're still recovering from it. We'll always be recovering from it. Matt LawPon cares about the community. He's not just there to collect a paycheck. I feel like Matt LawPon has proven himself trustworthy